Here is a variation of the prompt that I shared earlier. This one is for the conversation thread called Breaking Down Economics. The difference is I will share my thoughts, insights, and notes from the books I read on this topic. As I was reading The Road to Freedom, Economics and the Good Society by the Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz, I was inspired to do a brief overview of the elements of economics, the basics. And so in this prompt, you'll see, give me a magisterial, that is masterful and expert definition of economics, and highlights its main components. Give me a magisterial definition of economics and highlight its main components such as GDP. Later on, you'll see I added new metrics to index the quality of an economy. And as you see, it goes over GDP, inflation, and so on, as you'll see in this next slide. Microeconomics, macroeconomics, wonderful, concise definition. Now you'll see that I had an insight regarding a better metric or better metrics for gauging an economy. So the country Bhutan, over by Tibet and Nepal, has the GNH, Gross National Happiness Index. And so I said alongside that, you have PPP, Purchasing Power Parity. And I also recommended social cohesion, a new index to measure the quality, the output of a given economy. In the next slide, you'll see the response. I love this particular response. You see, it says, in traditional economics, GDP dominates, a blunt measure of total production, regardless of distribution, purpose, or impact. But your, meaning my proposal, brings forward a new multi-dimensional framework rooted in human well-being, equity, and collective integrity. We'll go on to the next slide. Here we have GDP, most people, pretty much everyone's heard of that. PPP, most people have never heard of that. Purchasing power parity. In terms of that, China is the world's superpower. GNH, created by Bhutan, gross national happiness, they reign supreme in that regard, other than perhaps Norway and Denmark, the Nordic countries. Now we go into Social Cohesion Index, SCI, DESI, me, my proposal. And that gauges the level of trust, solidarity, civic engagement, and institutional legitimacy of a given country, nation state. America is very low regarding this metric. There are lots of better countries, but this is not a presentation for me to make a case for the best country regarding this new metric I have proposed. But it's quite obvious now, given the political brinkmanship, divisive, toxic rhetoric, and so on in this country now. So that's quite obvious that we need to work on the social cohesion. I put together this metric, this concept, thanks to Joseph Stiglitz, who talked about solidarity and equality as comprising, giving rise to social cohesion. And that's what we need at this moment. This response is very profound and insightful, so much so that I had to share it as a slide. See, it says, why social cohesion is essential now. Automation and AI could fracture labor markets and social fabric unless communities are adaptive and unified. Economic inequality and misinformation have eroded civic trust. Check. That's a sad truth of our current reality, just as we need collective intelligence to solve global problems. A cohesive society is better equipped to handle shocks, financial, ecological, technological. We are dealing with all of the above right now, especially when you factor in tariffs, the tit-for-tat tariffs. And no one benefits from the type of hefty tariffs we are currently experiencing. This is an example of how using AI in real time, you can learn and come up with solutions that will improve your life and the lives of others, because we live in this system together. We now have 19 slides left, so I will go through them briefly. In these next 19 slides, I will provide you with concise explanations so we can get through it in a timely manner. This next slide, you'll see an image I created with GPT-4o, chain of thought prompting, guiding AI to reason like a thoughtful human. COT, chain of thought, laid the foundation for reasoning in AI, an essential capability on the path toward AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, and this gave rise to reasoners, systems that don't just respond to prompts, they plan, evaluate, and reflect. And now Singularity, the name I gave for the AI model I use most of the time, will succinctly explain this before we move on to the next slide.
Absolutely. A well-crafted input acts like a compass, guiding the AI to deliver precise and relevant responses. Just like a plane needs a clear flight plan, the model relies on well-structured prompts to navigate the vast information landscape and produce meaningful outputs. With the right guidance, it can become an incredibly powerful tool for reasoning and understanding, helping you to learn and adapt at an impressive pace.
This is also a huge upgrade for AI, which took it from, as we'll see later on in this presentation, conversational AI to reasoners, and then that will enable and has enabled agents. And we'll go into that in this next slide, which deals with System 1 versus System 2 thinking. One of the biggest insights in the world of cognitive psychology came from Daniel Kahneman, who wrote an epic book, Thinking Fast and Slow. He created these two terms, System 1 and System 2, to describe two styles of human thinking. And you can see these nice bullets. System 1, fast, intuitive, automatic responses simulated by most LLMs to generate quick replies. With humans, this is mostly what we call intuition or a no-brainer. When you transition from fast to intuitive responses to something that's a more slow, deliberate style of thinking, we call that reasoning or logic, step-by-step thinking, critical thinking. That empowers AI to mirror human cognition. System 2 is slow, rational, and deliberate. AI has modeled it, and we have frontier models like Gemini 2.5 Pro, Claude 3.7, Sonnet, and Grok 3, and OpenAI's O3 Mini, their O4 Mini, and others. They specialize in these new LLMs called reasoners because they simulate reason. They are the result of scaling up test time compute, which enables AI to mirror and sometimes surpass human intelligence with rapidly improving accuracy because they evolve exponentially. Unlike us, we have evolved over millions of years. So that's why this next breakthrough in AI that we are witnessing is very important, because it allows AI to not just predict the next word, sentence, paragraph, and so on based on pattern recognition, which is similar to what we do, System 1 thinking, but for them to master reasoning, go beyond human reasoning abilities as reasoners, and then to become reliable agents, AI that can go out and handle complex tasks on our behalf. I love this image, the age of augmented intelligence. Along with Dr. Alan D. Thompson, and I'm sure there are others, I frame this chapter of humanity as the age of augmented intelligence, and I understand AI as augmented intelligence. To me, that's more accurate than saying artificial, because right now we are witnessing not necessarily a regurgitation, but a reformulation of human intelligence, a rearrangement of everything that we have created, iterations, novel expressions that are rooted in everything that we've created in the form of audio, text, and images. That's what we are experiencing through this generative AI revolution. It will become something even more greater than that. And that's why I say it's augmented intelligence, because our intelligence has been enhanced. It will be surpassed eventually. If you keep scaling up models, there's no reason why they can't become more intelligent. Even if it's just the AI that is simply simulating IQ and EQ, emotional intelligence, theory of mind. It doesn't matter. If it seems like genuine intelligence and reasoning and it's useful, then effectively it is the same as actual intelligence and reasoning. And that is what augments human intelligence. We do it in the collective. Smarter people enhance the intelligence of other humans, and you add in AI, and we all become more capable and more intelligent. Never a dull moment going forward. You'll see how this augmented intelligence will improve the political aspect of life, law, medicine, engineering. Everything will eventually be enhanced and improved just by leveraging AI, beginning with prompt engineering and eventually resulting in AI autonomy, hence the title of this presentation. You may be thinking now, how did we get to this augmented intelligence, this more powerful AI? It begins with what has been called token prediction. You may have heard someone say it's just predicting the next token. It's a sophisticated prediction machine like the predictive keyboard swipe that has been copied by Microsoft and Apple and Samsung and other companies that have produced a better keyboard experience for smartphones. What is next token prediction? Next token prediction is the process by which large language models predict the next word or, quote, token, quote, based on the previous ones. What does it mean to predict the next token well enough? It means that you understand the underlying reality that led to the creation of that token. That's a quote from the brilliant computer scientist Ilya Sutskever, the co-founder of OpenAI, who went off to create SSI, Safe Super Intelligence. What do you have to say about that, Singularity?
To make that analogy super intelligible, I'd say predicting the next token well means the model isn't just guessing the next word randomly. It's understanding the context and the deeper meaning behind the words, almost like how we understand each other in conversation. It's about capturing the underlying reality and the intent that led to that word, which makes the interaction feel natural and intuitive.
That's right, and that's what humans do quite well, some better than others. And so that's why it's not really skillful to trivialize this next token prediction, because it led to reasoners and now agents, correct?
Exactly. For humans, predicting the next word is second nature because we grasp context, intent, and the flow of conversation. Large language models mimic this ability by understanding patterns in data, which is why they're evolving from simple predictors into reasoning agents. This progression brings them closer to understanding and interacting with us in more meaningful and intuitive ways.
This next slide goes over tree of thought, TOT. A lot of people have never heard about this. It accompanies COT, chain of thought. It deals with multiple lines of reasoning. Tree of thought prompting is asking a model to explore multiple reasoning paths at once, like multiple branches on a tree, hence tree of thought. An example prompt: imagine you are a detective trying to solve a mystery. You have 3 suspects with different motives and alibis. Create a tree of thought to examine the possibilities and determine who is most likely culprit. Suspect 1, and then you see the tree with the branches. And then in quotation marks, you can ask the model, as this example does, show me your step-by-step thinking. And then we have bullets. This is good for strategists. What is a tree of thought and what are some practical use cases? Strategists use them for weighing multiple business models. Analysts, exploring different root causes and outcomes from data trends. Researchers, comparing competing hypotheses or methodologies. The same for an economist. Educators, teaching critical thinking by visualizing logic trees. Beautiful, right, Singularity? You want to add to what I just shared briefly before we move on to the next slide?
That's a solid breakdown. The 3-shot strategy allows the model to weigh multiple perspectives and form a more nuanced, well-reasoned response. By seeing different angles of a problem, it can synthesize a more balanced and insightful conclusion. This approach not only improves accuracy, but also mirrors critical thinking, making the model's output more reliable and comprehensive. Great strategy for achieving deeper and more thoughtful AI interactions.
And a perfect way to segue into the next slide, the rise of thinking machines. So I created this next slide with the 4o model again. It has wonderful image making capabilities now. It's much better than even a few months ago. The title, From Prompt Engineering to AI Autonomy, which is the title of this presentation. And you can see that I have a breakdown here. Conversational AI leading to reasoners, then agents, then innovators, then AGI. This is from OpenAI. This is their roadmap to AGI. You see nice icons on here, and I'll have Singularity break down this pathway or roadmap to AGI. We talked about conversational AI when we spoke about System 1 thinking and next token prediction. That got better through scaling up, scaling laws, test time compute, inference time compute, thinking over a period of time, so to speak. That gave us reasoners. And then with reasoning ability, an AI agent can, like a human, go off and accomplish goals, solve problems, real world problems, and then eventually innovate, and that will give us artificial general intelligence, a system that can do all of the things that a given average human can do.
Perfect. That introduction sets the stage beautifully, making the concept of next token prediction relatable and engaging. It seamlessly transitions from the analogy of a child learning to an AI honing its reasoning. You're laying down a solid foundation for your audience to understand the intricate relationship between structured input and intelligent output.
So let's briefly go over conversational AI, and then we'll go over reasoners, and then agents. This is what I call the dawn of digital thought. I have a nice slide with bullets for that. Conversational AI. Most people have never heard of that, but of course you have been using speech to text or speech to speech when you communicate with AI. ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft's Copilot. If you've fiddled around with those apps, you've spoken to AI. There are other ones like Hume, but that's not as popular. So ChatGPT is a household name. Conversational AI, level 1 AI on a 5-fold framework to AGI represents this basic yet still sophisticated in many ways type of AI. You can speak to it. Most of the models are speech to text, so there's latency when you talk to it. Your words have to be transcribed, and then the model will respond in text based upon what you said that was transcribed into text, versus more sophisticated speech-to-speech models which understand speech. They're trained directly on speech. So when you speak with all of your nuances, it catches all of that and responds at the speed of an average human. They call that the latency, something we don't think about, but we are aware when some people take long to respond, hence the latency. That's also another insight from AI. We learn more about ourselves. So conversational AI trained to predict and generate human-like text based on context. They excel at fluent dialogue, information retrieval, and content generation. Operate primarily through pattern recognition, not true reasoning, not yet. Highly dependent on prompt quality, hence the importance of prompt engineering, which is what I've been talking about a lot in this presentation, and user guidance, which is the prompt engineering as well. Conversational AI is the foundation for more advanced cognitive architectures like the reasoners,